All right, so this is the all-new ROG Zephyrus G14. What we wanted to do with this was build an ultra-portable gaming laptop that didn't sacrifice any of the things that gamers really want out of an ultra-portable or out of a gaming machine. A lot of what you will see with ultra-portables is they'll sacrifice things like performance or refresh rate or keyboard. But ROG, we don't really do compromise, so we tried to make a smaller gaming laptop as much of an ROG product as we could. That starts with the chassis itself. So this is a magnesium alloy chassis. What you see in a lot of ultra portables is the chassis is a little bit flexy. This is really strong. We actually have sort of structural honeycomb reinforcements under the palm rest that make it feel really solid and noticeably more solid than some of our competitors. The whole system itself was only 1.6 kilograms, and it's down to 18 millimeters thin, so it is genuinely really thin, really light, very, very portable. So despite the fact that this is a really thin and light chassis, we've got a really powerful processor on the inside. So the latest Ryzen Mobile 4000 series processors. You can also get GeForce graphics up to an RTX 2060. So very, very powerful. A lot of the time in a machine like this, you'll have integrated graphics or something like an MX 150 or an MX 250. So it's not really the same class of performance that we're offering here. And there's a lot that actually goes into the cooling design of this laptop that actually allows us to run that level of hardware. Another thing that we're doing, thanks to the AMD platform, is this actually has adaptive sync. It's the first time you've been able to do adaptive sync with a GeForce processor. So that varies the refresh rate intelligently based on the frames per second that you're getting out of the GPU and gives you a much smoother gaming experience. We've got a couple of display options with this. One is a WQHD display that goes up to 60 Hertz. And that's a little bit more aimed at content creators who want a little bit of extra resolution, but still a manageable resolution because, you know, if you try to game at 4K on a laptop, it really doesn't work out that well. So this display is PANTONE validated as well, so you get really, really accurate colors. We've also got a second option, and it's a full HD 120 Hertz panel. Now, you don't actually see high refresh panels in 14-inch laptops. We actually had to go to a panel provider and have one created specifically for this machine. That display is also PANTONE validated. It still has your adaptive sync functionality. So no matter which display you choose, you get a really good gaming experience, but then you also get really good colors for content creation. You notice we've got thin bezels all around for this. We've also got what we call an ergo lift design. So if you look at the side here, it actually lifts up the laptop slightly. What it does is it helps hide the bottom bezel, so it makes it look like it's smaller, but it also gives you a more natural typing angle and actually makes the audio and cooling a little bit better. It's a little bit more room for airflow underneath and a little bit more room for speakers to bounce the sound off the table. So we've got two woofers in the bottom here that bounce sound off the bottom, and then two tweeters up here that fire sound directly at you. So you get really good sound out of a very small laptop. This actually has Dolby Atmos as well, so it's surround sound virtualization for not only speakers, but also your headset as well. A couple other things you can notice here is the keyboard. A lot of the time when you've got an ultra portable, you have a compromised keyboard. This has a desktop inspired layout, so you've got your traditional inverted T there. You've got a little bit of separation between the blocks of function keys. We also have our standard hotkeys right here. Gaming, you want to be able to access a few functions very, very easily. So we've got volume, mute, and then also the button that activates our Armory Crate software. Keyboard itself has 1.7 millimeters of travel, which is actually quite a lot for an ultra portable that's this thin. And the neat thing here is the power button. So inside this power button, we've actually hidden a fingerprint reader. And this supports the SSO standard, so it's single sign-on. You press this power button once, it will boot up the machine and actually remember your fingerprint and then apply your fingerprint at the login screen. So it's not the usual two-step process that you get with traditional fingerprint readers. So another thing that we've done with this system, despite the fact that it's very, very thin and lightweight, we give you a full selection of ports. You get a full-size HDMI port, which is really handy for connecting a television, or this is really aimed at students if you need to connect a projector in class. You've got your Type-C port on the side, and then you've also got Type-A on the other side. Battery life is going to be about 10 hours, which is really great for an ultra-thin system that has this much power. And we've also got support for Type-C charging. So if you don't want to take the power brick with you, you can charge off a standard phone charger that supports USB power delivery up to 65 watts. You can also charge off a USB power pack. If you don't have a wall outlet near you, you can actually carry extra battery capacity with these standard USB power packs. The other thing that we've done is we've actually made the standard power adapter much smaller. So this is the one you want to use for full gaming performance. It's 180 watts, but it's much thinner, much smaller, and much lighter than our previous generation. What we tried to do is make not just the laptop thinner and lighter and easy to take around, but the entire system. Now the sort of special extra feature that we have on some versions of this laptop is what we're calling the Enemy Matrix display. It's actually powered by over 1,200 individual white LEDs that we've created behind a separate panel, and there are over 6,500 CNC drilled holes in the display. What we saw when we looked at the market for this laptop, which is targeting sort of a younger audience, is that people always put stickers on the lid of their laptop. The problem is you're kind of stuck with the stickers that you have. They're hard to take off. What this matrix display allows you to do is customize the system very, very easily and then change it as often as you want. So this supports animated GIFs. You can load JPEGs onto there, any image file you want. You can actually build your own animations within the software, and then it's got a bunch of text functions where you can have text scrolling on the screen. You can have a little bit of a ticker. You can get system notifications. It's a much more versatile customization tool than we've been able to offer before. So this will be available on special versions of the system, and then we're also selling a standard version of it without. So that kind of sums up the system. It's a ultra portable gaming laptop that doesn't sacrifice gaming features, but is also a very approachable design that's available in white and gray to sort of appeal to a broad audience of people who play games but don't necessarily consider themselves to be hardcore gamers. So some of the storage options you have in here, you can get up to a terabyte NVMe SSD, up to 32 gigs of DDR4 3200 memory, which is a little bit faster than you would typically see in a laptop. Ryzen processors benefit from faster memory, so we've tried to use that to increase performance. And then the processor itself is actually a special version of this new AMD 4000 series CPU. It's actually been tuned specifically to run an ultra-slim chassis. When you have a chassis this thin and this light, you don't have a lot of room for cooling, so power consumption and thermals are really important. So we work closely with AMD to create a 35-watt version of the chip. It has almost the same performance as the 45-watt version, same boost clocks, but is specifically optimized to run in an ultra-thin chassis like this. There's also a lot of work that goes into the cooling for this. So the ErgoLift design allows a little bit more airflow underneath the chassis. It also evacuates air out the back here, which creates a little bit of a challenge when you've got the display bezel along the bottom. So we actually had to change the shape of the heatsink fins so that they expel air up and out and not directly into the display. We've also got outlet ports on the left, or on the right and on the left, and trying to maximize the amount of surface area that we have on that heatsink as well. So all of the fins are ultra thin copper fins that allow us to dissipate more heat. And then the fans themselves have also been slightly redesigned as well. So they've got, it's 81 blades each, extremely thin. They're made of a special liquid crystal polymer that actually holds up to running at high speed without deforming, which is really important because you got to make those blades really thin when you're squeezing them into a system like this with so many blades. The other thing that we did is we actually redesigned our anti-dust system in this as well. So the anti-dust system uses a special tunnel inside the fan housing that catches dust and then shoots it out the back of the chassis so it doesn't get stuck on your heatsink fins or on your fan and degrade cooling performance. But we didn't want to use a smaller fan in this system and sacrifice airflow. So we completely redesigned our anti-dust system. We made the tunnel a little bit shorter so that we have room for a larger fan and can get the airflow from that, but then still have the anti-dust capability, which allows you better long-term performance and better stability over time. And since we were redesigning the fan a little bit, we also went and actually varied the length of the fan blades. So all the fan blades are between, I think it's 50.5 and 51.5 millimeters. So when you vary the fan blade length on the outside, you actually reduce turbulence, and that makes the system a little bit quieter without sacrificing airflow. So there are a lot of little tweaks that go into a design like this to get a system that not only has the cooling performance to deal with a processor like this, but then is also not too loud that you actually don't want to use it. So this is the Zephyrus G15. This is sort of the big brother of the Zephyrus G14. This actually came out last year and we've updated it with the new AMD Ryzen 4000 series processors. So this has the same special 35-watt version as the 15-inch, but we've been able to do an upgrade to the display. So you can actually get up to a 240 hertz panel on this, which is great for esports titles where you're running at a really, really high frame rate. And with the RTX 2060 that you can get in this system, you can actually hit really high frame rates in those esports titles like Counter-Strike to take advantage of the faster display. Like the G14, it's a PANTONE Validated display, so it has really good colors for people who do a little bit of content creation on the same machine that they do gaming. So it's a little bit larger of a system. This one is only available in black. It's still an understated design. We wanted something that would blend in and didn't immediately look like a gaming laptop. Still get a good full-size keyboard. You still get Type-C charging, DDR4 3200 memory, basically the same specs under the hood as the G14, available in a slightly larger package.